The 3900X is literally hot, and by hot I mean hot in every literal sense. Let's trim it down. Hey everyone, Mukul here. I'm going to do all sorts of tests in this video. PBO, Auto OC, Level 1, Level 2, Performance Enhancers and Manual Overclocking. So as I shared on my last video, how my 3900X during a Prime 95 stress test, this simply crashed down, the system turned off. So I had to make a call and get a CPU cooler for it, as clearly the stock cooler was not working as per the demand of the 3900X. So I looked around for a bunch of options and I saw many AIOs and many air cooling options, and I was really enticed by the AIOs and I zeroed down to some options. But whenever I did that and wrote the word leak with that particular AIO, there were some cases. I see myself as one of the unluckiest tech consumer human on the earth, so I had to make sure that I don't get any liquids inside the case. Because if there is a case and that case belongs to me and it has liquid inside of it, the chances of it leaking are way higher than any other average human being out there. Call me paranoid if you want, but that's the truth. In my whole life, I've never had good experiences with most of the tech products I bought, especially the ones which I buy with so much love. So the best air cooling options on this planet at least are from Noctua. They are ugly, but they work. And they are quite. And they come with insane 6 years of warranty. But I wanted the least ugly one, so I went for the slim one, the Noctua U14S. Slim is also what the 3900X would like, and slim and hot is generally what we would all like. The Noctua D15 is the best air cooler right now in the market, but it kinda scares me with its size. It is like a bulky bull with the horn size of another bull. What? So now begins the process of installation, but no wait, I don't want to bore you with the process of installation of a CPU cooler on a CPU. And that video is in production with the huge team I have here right now, so do sub for it. I hope you know this sub, not this sub. I'm using 32 GB of ADATA D40 at 3200 MHz, and that's the only setting which I enabled in the BIOS for this first test. Everything else was on stock. I also tweaked my fan profiles, as I knew that because of the weather here and because of everything else, the temperatures are not quite friendly with the 3900X. So I tweaked my fan profile and I made sure that around 58 to 60 degrees Celsius, the CPU fan kicked in at its full load. The side panel on my case was closed in all of these tests. The case I am using is Cooler Master Masterbox 520. And before I go on to further test, I want to mention that this was the only test where I saw idles at around 36 to 40 degrees Celsius. And this actually made me enjoy, because in all the other tests, I never saw this range of idle temperatures at all. But this joy is also short-lived, as soon I was seeing the idles around 40 plus 42, 43, 44 degrees Celsius. As PBO and PBO2 in auto mode are in auto, so your motherboard and processor will decide when to kick them in and when not to. So in the stock settings, the processor touched 4.5 GHz on 2 or 3 more cores, which was really good, but not exactly what AMD is advertising on their marketing pages. I couldn't really touch 4.6 GHz on any of the core. So this is one thing which is already in controversy, and I don't want to add more to this by speaking more on it, because there are thousands of other people and articles who are already discussing this. My room temperatures are generally around 30 to 32 degrees Celsius, and because of that, the performance on the boost clocks may have been impacted. The voltage is also kind of peaked till 1.4 to 1.5 volts sometimes. So it was kind of a mix match, but the performance was also very average with all the stock settings. And you will know why in the video ahead. During the Cinebench R20 test, the peak speeds on all the cores was up till 3.9 GHz and not more than that. And the score I saw was around 6700 to 6800. So not pretty impressed with what I was getting on stock settings as I compared to other users, other buyers, other consumers who have made the similar test with an external cooler or a AIO or a liquid cooler on their 3900X. The temperatures also stuck around 81 to 82 degrees Celsius during the Cinebench test. So right after I truly enabled PBO in 2 of these sub-menus, I did my test again, ran the benchmarks again, and the score was definitely improved. This time I got around 7050 score on Cinebench R20 in the multi-core test, and I was pretty satisfied that yes, these things are doing something on the processor and they are boosting the performance for me. However, the temperatures really rose up to 87 to 88 degrees Celsius when I was doing the test. So it was a bit worrisome that yes, I'm getting more performance, but the temperature gain was also something which should be accounted for. I could really feel the CPU going hot. It was as if the CPU was talking to me and sharing its pain, the hot pain which the CPU was going through. So clearly, when you manage to get more boost, the performance of these processor on these automated settings will also increase, but with temperatures. So if you live in a hot environment like how I live in India, and right now the weather is quite hot and humid, you can't expect and compare your performance to someone else who has the same processor and using it around ice or something. So just make sure of that. So right after playing with some PBO settings and playing with the Ryzen Masters creator mode, I decided to try a different route, and that was the performance enhancers which the BIOS showed to me. There were 3 performance enhancers options in the BIOS. Level 1 and level 2 are AMD specific PBO parameters. So after enabling the level 1 in the BIOS, when I retested my Cinebench scores, they were quite surprisingly good. I was able to score around 7100 this time. The ideal temperatures around level 1 were 45 to 52 degrees Celsius, and the peak temperature rose up till 87 to 88 degrees Celsius. Peak speed hovered around 4050 MHz, so a good boost over stock settings. And now it was the turn of testing the level 2. On level 2 my temperatures were closer to what I was actually getting on the stock settings, and the peak speeds were close to 4 GHz on all cores, as compared to 4.05 GHz on level 1. The ideal temperature hovered around 42 to 46 degrees Celsius, and the Cinebench score was around 7000. With actually better peak temperatures, I could touch 82 to 83 degrees Celsius as my peak temperatures on full load in the Cinebench score, which was pretty darn good. So by sacrificing a little performance over level 1, but the massive drop in temps is more tempting. Also on level 2, I was able to touch 4.5 GHz at least on 3 to 4 cores, which was really impressive for this mode. So to achieve 50 to 100 MHz more on each clock, I had to sacrifice 5 to 6 degrees Celsius of temperature. Any wise man would sacrifice this much amount of clock speeds over that much massive difference and drop in temperatures. And I am a wise man. During manual overclocking testing, I kept the multiplier at 41x at 1.25 volts. FCLK at auto. I didn't touch the RAM voltages at all. DOCP to 3200 MHz. Make sure to disable your PBOs. I didn't turn it off, and during the Prime 95 test, I saw my temperatures raised till 100 degrees Celsius. I had to stop it because those kind of temperatures are really worrisome. The performance on manual overclocking improved a lot. I immediately saw Cinebench scores nearing 7400, which was really good, and it kind of made me happy. And also this was possible on the same 88 degrees Celsius temperature range. So it was like level 1 but way more performance on all your cores. I think I can easily touch 42x multiplier and get even more performance, but I am really worried about the temperatures. They might increase more, and maybe in the future BIOS updates, AMD, Asus will definitely fix this, and I might be able to get and extract more performance from my 3900X. So after feeling like a goddamn or dogdamn scientist, I can sadly conclude that this is a damn hot chip. But haven't I already said that in the beginning of the video? You fool. So on the 3900X, AMD tried to put single IO die with 2 more chiplets on it, making a total of 3 components right on your chip, producing massive heat, demanding more temperatures, demanding more power on them. And as concluded by many YouTube reviewers, many websites, the Ryzen performance is strictly temperature dependent. AMD really did a great job, but this chip is a real damn hot chip. The 2700X in my office never touched 80 degrees Celsius on massive loads I threw on it. And this chip, the 3900X, can touch 90 to 91 degrees Celsius if I stress it more. You would also notice the sudden spikes in temperature if you are using the processor on Windows, so don't be alarmed with that. That's just natural and comes with the personality of Ryzen 3000 series processor, a personality which we hide under CPU coolers. So make sure to be in a room which has good AC in it, or a good AIO or a air cooler. But trust me, this isn't about air coolers versus AIOs. I've read many comments by many people. I've asked the same question on Reddit, and a lot of them have said that even their ideal temperature, even their peak temperature were somewhat around what I claimed. So it's not about the cooler definitely. If your motherboard and CPU are lying on a flat table, then you will definitely get a better performance on your Ryzen processors, but obviously nobody will do that for apparent reasons that your cat's ear can get stuck inside the CPU cooler. Dogs are fine, dogs don't have ear. What? I've read many comments of many consumers who are getting 45 to 50 degrees Celsius ideal temperatures on their Ryzen 3600, not even X. So if someone is worried of these temperatures on their 3600, I shouldn't be worried of the same temperature on my 3900X. That was my point. These processors are hot. This generation is hot. It's like one of those earlier AMD's processor which used to run very hot as compared to Intel. AMD says that up till 95 degrees Celsius these processors are okay to run, but AMD doesn't say that around those temperatures, around that peak temperature range, the performance drastically drops. Your clock speeds on all the cores will keep dropping until the processor and the motherboard think that they are safe to run. So unless and until I see my peak load temperatures under 80 degrees Celsius, this fact will always be in my mind that in the longer run, if I put a render throughout the night and by the morning, obviously the AC won't be running, then the processor might hit bottleneck due to the temperatures. So AMD definitely needs to fix this in the upcoming BIOS updates. But if you are a consumer who just bought a Ryzen 3000 series processor and who don't renders for hours and hours, then you shouldn't be worried at all. A game or your daily usage applications and software won't stress the processor much unless and until you are someone who renders throughout the day, throughout the week. Then these tiny bit of constraints should be there in your mind, because if you're stressing your processor, they will get hot, and this generation, when it will get hot, it will degrade in its performance during that run. So in your daily usage and in gaming, these boost clocks will never ever make you feel that the performance is low of these processors, and some of them will work just as fine, as good as the Intel processor, especially for gaming and other normal average tasks you are supposed to do daily. But definitely get a better cooler if you are supposed to use the machine, use this generation to render a lot of videos or 3D renders or simulations, or do things which stresses the memory and the processor, like how the Prime 95 does when you stress test your computer on it. So either move to Greenland. I will never know why Greenland has lots of ice and Iceland have lots of greens, never mind. So either move to Greenland or get an AC room with better ventilation on your case, with good fans, best fans in your case, and then be in peace with it. I was just glad that on this Noctua CPU cooler, my system didn't turn off at all when I was doing the Prime 95 test. As on the stock cooler, when I did that test, after 20 minutes, the system simply shut off. And the last temperature which I saw on the Ryzen Master during that test was 115 degrees Celsius, which is scary as hell. Even though AMD says that's okay for the 5700 XT to run on. So this is my conclusion. If you do a lot of renderings, go inside the manual overclocking settings and change the settings. Tweaking the RAM will get you even more performance. So just do manual overclocking if you are a hardcore rendering workload operator. Wow. But if you don't do renderings on a daily basis, then just make a profile of overclocked settings and just save it in your BIOS. And on your daily usage, you can have fun with the level 1 and level 2 performance enhancers, depending on what kind of temperatures you are getting on your setup. Or just entirely forget about all this. Keep your PBO on, and after setting your DOCP profiles, let PBO do its work. However, I was able to get more performance on the same PBO temperatures on the manual overclocking settings I just shared with you all. So it is good to know you can at least bring the temperatures more down if you are getting more temperatures than what I've just stated in this video. Special thanks to Andrew1 for counting how many times I said motherboard on the X570 Asus TUF gaming motherboard video. Great job, bro. That was a tough one. Yeah, you are also a tough one. Subscribe to get more updates on similar content. You know you want to. And if you don't know, ask your friends. They would also not know. And because she won't shut up, that's all for today. Mewbot out.